I'd been working late again, trying to close a deal that would boost our savings account by $20,000. The same savings account Sarah had been dipping into for her weekly spa visits and shopping trips with these same women. The irony wasn't lost on me as I listened to what came next. Rule number 12. All purchases over $50 require written approval from wife. They erupted in giggles. My wife's voice carried that fake sweet tone she used when she thought she was being clever. Oh, and here's a good one. Rule 15. No contact with single male friends. They're a bad influence on commitment. Jennifer, my wife's college friend, clapped her hands together. What about the performance reviews? Read that one again. Sarah flipped back a few pages. Rule 8. Monthly performance evaluations where wives assess husbands' contribution to household management, emotional support, and relationship growth. Scores determine privileges for the following month. Privileges. Lisa laughed so hard she snorted, like they're dogs getting treats for good behavior. I stayed in the doorway, invisible to them, watching this little performance. These women, all married, all supposedly mature adults, were crafting a system to control their husbands like we were teenagers asking for car keys. But here's what struck me. They genuinely believed they were doing something helpful, revolutionary even. The notebook was thick, maybe 50 pages. They'd been planning this for weeks, maybe months. Each rule was numbered, explained in detail, with subcategories for enforcement and appeals processes. This wasn't a joke or a fantasy. This was a business plan for domestic control. Sarah continued reading. Rule 21. Weekly performance reviews where wives grade husbands on household contribution, emotional availability, and overall behavior. Allowance adjustments based on scores. The applause that followed was stomach-turning. But the real masterpiece came with Rule 17. Sarah's voice dropped to a conspiratorial whisper. Wife's emotional freedom. Recognizing that if a woman's emotional or physical needs aren't being met in marriage, she has the right to seek connection elsewhere without facing consequences or judgment. The room went quiet for a moment, then exploded in supportive murmurs. That's so important, whispered Amy, the newest addition to their group. Women give so much to marriage. We deserve to be fulfilled. I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I watched my wife's face as she read that particular rule. There was something there. Guilt? Excitement? Whatever it was, it told me everything I needed to know. Her fingers lingered on that page longer than the others. Her voice had a different quality when she read it, like she was testing how the words sounded out loud. The beauty of this system, Sarah explained to her audience, is community enforcement. We all hold each other's husbands accountable. If one of us sees another's husband breaking rules, we report it. Group pressure works. Like a neighborhood watch for marriages, Jennifer added, clearly pleased with her metaphor. Exactly. No more letting bad behavior slide because we're afraid of confrontation. We support each other in maintaining standards. I counted at least 12 contradictions between their own behavior and the rules they wanted to impose. Sarah, who forgot our anniversary 2 years running, had written Rule 23 about mandatory romantic gestures and remembering important dates. The woman who hadn't balanced a checkbook in her life had designed a complex financial accountability system for husbands. But what really caught my attention was watching how they talked about their husbands, not with love or partnership, but with the frustrated condescension of managers dealing with problem employees. These men were fathers to their children, providers for their families, and these women were discussing them like defective products that needed better quality control. That's when I decided to step into their game. This sounds fascinating, I said, walking into the room with the calm confidence of a man who'd just found his chess pieces. Tell me more about enforcement. The room went silent. 4 faces turned toward me with expressions ranging from embarrassment to defiance. Sarah recovered first, that fake smile spreading across her face. Oh, honey, we were just having girl talk, nothing serious. No, really, I said, settling into my favorite chair like I was genuinely interested. I heard something about performance reviews and allowances. How exactly would this work? The point system is genius, Lisa explained excitedly. Start each month with 100 points. Lose 10 for leaving dishes in the sink, 20 for forgetting to text when running late, 50 for questioning a wife's decision in front of others. And the consequences scale perfectly, Jennifer added. Below 90 points means no guy's night out. Below 70 means no beer purchases. Below 50, she paused dramatically. Separate bedrooms until improvement. I listened to them describe their enforcement mechanisms with the enthusiasm of prison wardens designing a new facility. They'd thought of everything, except what I was about to show them. Impressive organization, I nodded. But I'm curious, what rules will wives have to follow? The silence stretched until Jennifer laughed nervously. We don't need rules. Women naturally regulate themselves. We're more emotionally mature. Right, Lisa chimed in. Men need structure, women provide it, it's biology. Amy nodded sagely. Women are naturally more collaborative and self-aware. We don't need external control because we have internal wisdom. Interesting theory, I said. So this is a one-way system. Men get rules, women get freedom. Exactly, Sarah beamed. Finally, someone understands. I let them savor that moment of victory. Then I delivered the trap I'd been building since I walked in. Well, if this system is so revolutionary, I'd like to contribute just one rule of my own. They exchanged glances. Sarah's smile flickered. What kind of rule? A simple one. I think it's only fair. I paused, watching their faces. Here it is. Any woman who makes rules to control her husband automatically agrees to have rules made for her. The silence was absolute. You could have heard a pin drop in another room. I watched understanding dawn on their faces, the realization that their little game had just been turned inside out. That's... Jennifer started, then stopped. That's what? I asked calmly. Unfair? But you just said men need rules and structure. Surely what's good for men is good for women? Unless you're suggesting women are somehow above accountability? Sarah's voice came out small. That's not what we meant. Of course it is, I said, reaching for their notebook. Let me read these back to you and show you what you've created. I flipped through pages of detailed punishments, point systems, and enforcement mechanisms. This isn't marriage improvement. This is domestic tyranny. I pulled out my phone and started scrolling through my contacts. I think your husband should hear about these improvements to their marriages. I'll call them right now. No! The word exploded from all four women simultaneously. Wait, Sarah said, panic creeping into her voice. Let's talk about this. We can work something out, Lisa added desperately. Like what? I asked, finger hovering over Mike's number, Jennifer's husband. You want to negotiate? I thought you said men need rules and women provide structure. What's there to negotiate? But I wasn't done. I had one more card to play, and it was the ace that would end everything. But first, I wanted to watch them squirm a little longer as they realized their game had just become very real. Before I make that call, I said, settling back into my chair, let me make sure I understand the full scope of what you've created here. I flipped through the notebook slowly, reading random rules aloud. Rule 31. Husband must ask permission before making social plans. Rule 42. Wife has veto power over husband's clothing choices. Rule 56. Husband must provide written explanation for any mood changes. With each rule I read, their faces grew paler. Hearing their system described in my calm, measured voice seemed to strip away the girl talk atmosphere they'd hidden behind. This is comprehensive, I continued. You've essentially created a legal framework for treating grown men like supervised children. I'm actually impressed by the thoroughness. I flipped back to Rule 17 and read it aloud slowly. Wife's emotional freedom, recognizing that if a woman's emotional or physical needs aren't being met in marriage, she has the right to seek connection elsewhere without facing consequences or judgment. I paused, looking around the room. This rule is different from the others. The others are about control and punishment. This one's about permission. Permission for what, exactly? The other women shifted uncomfortably. They were starting to understand that this wasn't theoretical anymore. I looked directly at my wife. Sarah, whose idea was this particular rule? Her face went white. We all contributed. No, I said, my voice cutting through her excuse. This one's different. This one's personal. This rule exists because someone in this room is already using it, isn't it? The atmosphere in the room changed completely. The other women were looking between us now, sensing the shift from game to genuine crisis. Some of them were probably wondering if their own secrets were about to be exposed. Sarah, I said quietly, is there something you want to tell me? The silence stretched until she broke. I've been seeing someone, but it's not what you think. It's emotional support. You've been so distant lately, and David understands me in ways that... David. I repeated the name like I was testing its weight. David from your office? The one you've been having all those late meetings with? How did you... She started, then caught herself. How did I know? Sarah, you've been coming home at 10 p.m. 3 nights a week for 2 months. You've been working weekends on projects that mysteriously never get mentioned in your company newsletter. Your phone is suddenly password protected, and you take it everywhere, including the bathroom. I spoke calmly, like I was reading a grocery list. Did you think I was blind, or just stupid? Her friends had gone completely silent. This wasn't fun anymore. This wasn't a game about controlling husbands. This was watching a marriage explode in real time. How long? I asked. 3 months, she whispered. But nothing physical happened until recently, and I thought, if we made this rule official, then it wouldn't be cheating, I finished. You thought you could retroactively justify betraying your marriage by making it a rule? That's fascinating psychology, Sarah. You didn't just cheat, you created an entire legal framework to make cheating acceptable. Her friends had gone completely silent. This wasn't fun anymore. This wasn't a game about controlling husbands. This was watching a marriage explode in real time. I stood up slowly, set the notebook on the coffee table, and looked at each woman in turn. Then I focused on my wife. Sarah, this marriage is over. Trust, once broken, can't be rebuilt with rules or negotiations or therapy. You chose to betray everything we built together, and you were so arrogant about it that you tried to make it legal through this ridiculous system. Please, she started, tears beginning to flow. We can fix this. I'll end it with David. I'll do whatever you want. What I want, I said calmly, is for you and your friends to leave my house. Now tonight. I'll file for divorce in the morning. You can't be serious, Jennifer said. Over a mistake? A mistake? I looked at her with genuine curiosity. She's been having an affair for 3 months and tried to create rules to justify it. That's not a mistake. That's a character revelation. I walked to the front door and opened it. Ladies, thank you for the education. You've shown me exactly what my wife thinks of our marriage and of me. That's actually valuable information. Where am I supposed to go? Sarah asked, still not moving. To David's, I assume. Isn't that where you've been finding your emotional and physical connection? The other women gathered their things quickly, avoiding eye contact. They'd come for girl talk and witness the end of a marriage. As they filed past me, I could see them already planning how to never speak of this night again. Sarah was the last to leave. She paused at the door, searching my face for something. Anger, sadness, a crack in my composure that might give her hope. I love you, she said quietly. No, I replied. You love the idea of controlling me. There's a difference. I closed the door behind her and turned the lock. Then I deleted her contact from my phone and blocked her number. Some decisions require immediate action to prevent weakness from creeping in later. The house was quiet now. Peaceful, even. I made myself a drink and sat in my chair, thinking about the evening's revelations. My wife had tried to systematically remove my autonomy while simultaneously betraying our marriage. Her friends had cheered her on. They'd created an elaborate justification system for treating their husbands like children while exempting themselves from any accountability. But here's what they never understood. Self-respect means walking away from anyone who tries to humiliate you or control you, no matter who they are. Even if they're your wife, especially if they're your wife. The next morning, I called my lawyer.